when I met Isha Ambani, she's like, why don't you come over to Reliance? I had to learn. I had to get my hands dirty. I had to get familiar with this aspect of the business. I haven't signed a single check in my life till today.
Why should I raise money? I will want to take a very slow approach.
I will not take anybody's money unless I am 100% sure I'm not going to make it 100x, forget 10x.
You know, when I first started working, immediately after college, I got my first paycheck. And through that, I saved enough money to pay for graduate school at Columbia. Both of you were part of print journalism. So my question is, print journalism dead?
I think anybody who can tell a story, who has a narrative, the time is now.
What about the role of influencers then?
There are a lot of complaints with Gen Z, but the positive of Gen Z is they're very sure, they're very independent, and especially the women. Stop comparing yourself to the next woman CEO. In a very superficial world of fashion, I think we managed to keep it real.
Hi, I'm Gayatri Rangachari Shah.
I am Jaya Mehrotra.
And welcome to another episode of Circle. Today, we have with us two incredible speakers and guests, of course, but we're also in a lovely location. We have with us Payal Singhal, a fashion designer who has just completed 25 years in the industry, and Priya Tanna, the former editor-in-chief of Vogue, and now runs her own creative agency. And we are in a very special location. We are in the heart of South Bombay's fashion district in Payal Singhal's store. So thank you both for being here with us.
Thank you for having us. I love the name, The Circle, by the way. It just feels like I'm part of a sisterhood already. So it sounds really fun. Yeah, excited.
Yeah. Thanks, Payal and Priya, for being here. I know it's early morning on a Friday. Priya, I wanted to ask you that you've kind of been an editor-in-chief for Vogue, and now you've pivoted to do something really interesting, and really want to know what you're building, what's your vision, and I know you're managing P&L.
Yeah.
So really want to know. I'm very curious to know. I keep hearing you're doing this, but what exactly?
You and everybody who meets me, I think this is the reason I don't have a business card, because I can't just fit in everything that I'm actually doing. It's hard to give it a designation. So honestly, Jaya, as you know, I've been in media for almost 30 years, and have zero complaints, only the best memories, and managed to go across the entire gamut from newspaper journalism to digital, to magazine, to film, to crime, to human interest, the entire spectrum. And I think my role that I am in today came in just at the right time. It was a bit of serendipity. I think the whole media landscape was changing, right? We're all consuming news, we're all consuming information so differently.
Sure.
And the time now is, it's not even a gig economy. I think it's a storyteller's economy. I think anybody who can tell a story, who has a narrative, the time is now. And I felt like, why not take the 30 years of experience and the fantastic experience of having worked with some incredible people and elevated something more. And when I met Isha Ambani, she's like, why don't you come over to Reliance, and why don't we look at elevating the creative narrative? And it sounded so exciting. I mean, think about it. Reliance is a left-brain company, and what I do is try and infuse my right-brain thinking, which is why my company is aptly called The Right Side. And it sits under Isha's office. And what we do, interestingly, is a couple of things. Is A, we structure and work on marquee events. We're not an events agency, but any IP that requires a creative upliftment is where I come in. So we did the whole launch of NMACC, and we did the launch of Geo World Plaza. In addition to it, we frequently consult the existing verticals in Reliance Retail and get into collabs with them, help them structure their blogging strategy, help them structure their social media, style campaigns for them. So that's the other part of what we do. So it's a consultant role. And the third part is we launched our own IPs this year. Early this year, we launched a digital publication that I'm super, super proud of, called The Nod. And what makes me more proud is that these were girls who started their careers with me, and today they're the editors of The Nod, and I couldn't be happier and prouder of what they've put out there. And we launched the Wedding Collective, which was this wedding IP. And of course, Payal was an integral part of it. So yeah, I wish there was a cliff note on what I do, but the real thing is we're just elevated storytellers and creative pushers, idea chasers is what I call it.
Wow, that's a big profile and a big bio.
Would you be exclusively with Reliance?
Yes.
Is the idea to be
Yes,
too?
I am.
And so this is an IP. We are building an IP, and I have a deep question on monetizing IPs. And you're managing a P&L. So
Yeah.
that's my question, that everybody's building an IP. There is so much content that's building.
Yeah.
How do you monetize some of what you're doing?
Yeah.
How are you managing a P&L? And because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just
Right.
1 year into this company. We were joking before this, right? How do we get paid for something like this? How do we build capital around this? So I would love to know how you're monetizing what
There are
you do.
two aspects to this. How do we get paid is a very interesting conversation, and it's a conversation on its own. But the more important question is, as a creative person, how do you then adapt to the commerce aspect of your business? And I think my last job was a great training ground for me. As somebody who's predominantly been a creative person her whole life, commerce didn't come easy to me, and I'll be very honest about that. But what I did do was the stuff that I didn't understand, I was trying to learn by osmosis. I just surrounded myself with people who understood finance, who understood commerce. I was always so interested in the sales aspect, because a piece of content is nothing if it can't reach the right consumer. Similarly, a great business, a great IP is just that. It's an idea unless you can scale it up, unless you can take it out to the right people. So I think some of that curiosity and interest sort of bled, and when I launched The Right Side, a big part of my job was to create a P&L. When Isha said, I want your business projections for the next 3 years and I want you to create a P&L, I wanted there to be a big hole and I wanted to get buried in it. But of course, the cool sort of oversees the chaos. And I have an amazing business partner, and she's a woman. And she understands commerce. And what I then did was immersed myself for the next 3 months in trying to understand what is it that makes a business work. And I think the P&L, the balance sheet is all the outcome. But what you need to understand is the robust business plan. And I think it's no different from when you're running a label or when you're a coach. I think your services, your work, all has to fit into, it's a triangle. What you do, what the consumer wants, and how do you monetize it? And all three need to be taken into account when you're creating a business plan. It's not just about putting in numbers. I think what happens is so often we're like, in year 2, I want to be this. In year 5, I want to be this. But I need to backtrack. What I am doing right now, how long will that take me and how far will that take me and how long will it take me to reach where I want to be? I think what's very, very important is finding all those 3 points and making them connect together when you're making a business plan. So to answer your question, I don't know if I answered it succinctly, but I had to learn. I had to get my hands dirty. I had to get familiar with this aspect of the business. I understood consumers and I understood creativity. I didn't understand commerce at all. But today, I can sit across the table and tell you I know how to read a business plan. I know how to do a business plan. It didn't come easy. It was frustrating, lots of tears, lots of fears, but I had to do it.
Payal, you have just completed 25 years of Payal Singhal, the brand. You have told us about how you knew nothing about finance or a business plan, or as Priya said, about the business commerce angle of running a business. How did you manage? And and how do you feel about your business acumen today versus when you first started out? What are the tools and resources you turned to get to this point?
So, as most creative people, and unfortunately, it's a big gap in the creative industry, that we are kind of almost embarrassed to be financially savvy. It's like almost like a negative thing, like a negative
100%,
connotation.
100%.
Oh, so you're business minded. But I'm very proud. I'm half Banya and half Marwadi. So I think and I was very entrepreneurial from a very young age. I remember narrating the story recently that I was like, making greeting cards at age 10, going to my principal and saying, can I sell this and donate it to charity, of course, at that time. So I was really lucky that I had an interest in the business side, but I was not very financially savvy. Like, I remember many years back, Aditi Kothari was doing this campaign for
A investor.
yeah. Saying that, I am a goal digger, no, and women who have
Can I
financial
say it
freedom.
was for Vogue?
For Vogue.
I did it.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
at that point of time, I remember feeling that I have no idea about how to handle my finances.
Right, how to
And it
manage
was-
your money.
Yeah, I had no idea. And I am not proud of this, but I think the truth needs to be told. I haven't signed a single check in my life till today. I have my husband who's CFO and my mom who's CEO, and they handle all the financial aspects of the business. Having said that, just like Priya, I have made it my job to learn on the job. I don't shy away from these difficult conversations. I sit in on the meetings. I don't have to do it, but I'm educating myself. And I think that's what I want women to know, that, you know what, even if you don't have the interest or the desire, if your business requires you to understand how the finances run, don't be afraid, just dive in. And I think it needs basic intelligence. That's what I say. I think now I look at daily sales reports, data, much more than my husband, who's actually a data analytics guy, And he's like, why are you looking into it? I was like, because for me, it helps me plan my product. Because without the financial aspects of the business, honestly speaking, the creative aspects cannot function, or definitely cannot be a business. It can be something I do as a hobby. So today I understand that these are the best-selling styles, these are the return on investments on these styles, the 80-20 rule, where you concentrate on 20% of product, which is giving you 80% of the business. And I mean, one of the big reasons I joined WLC was to, enhance this skill set of mine, because I have the thirst, I have the desire to know more, to give back to my business. So I did not know. I was winging it. But I'm proud to say today that I am in the process of learning, and I'm enjoying the learning curve.
So could I push back a little bit on that? Because one of the things as creatives is that, there is constantly this pull and push of the business desire, the idea to succeed, but at the same time having that creative freedom. At what point does it become that you see those sales reports and you say, oh, this is not working. So now in the back of your mind, when you are creating, that's actually impacting what you're creating. And so maybe you're not actually taking those risks. This is one of the criticisms that is also given, right?
Yeah.
When people are too sort of quote unquote business minded.
Yeah.
How do you counter that?
So, I mean, everything in life is about balance, and that's what I believe in.
Exactly.
At a certain age, you start to live it. It's not just something you learn from Buddhism, right? It becomes reality. So when you look at young talent, they're bursting with ideas because they have the risk of, like, they don't have a risk factor because they've not even started their career. When you get into bigger businesses or like the funded businesses, the number game is so important in what you're doing that somewhere down the line the creativity goes. That's why I think I'm in a very happy space right now, where I'm the master of what I decide to do. But having said that, it's also basic business acumen. Why would I make more styles of something which no one wants? So it's not even about my creative expression, but eventually fashion is wearable art. So if no one is wearing it, it's not really something that I need to create. So I think I'm just taking cues from my customer base, and I'm luckily not in the position where I'm so number driven or I have to answer to somebody that I need to compromise on my creativity, and I balance it. So within the numbers and within the styles that do well, and the colors that do well, the cities that do well, I am creative. So I don't let that go.
Also, I think, Payal, you said something so important here. It's not about what you want, it's about what your customer wants, it's about what your consumer wants. Often, creatives work in a very rarefied atmosphere for their peers or for themselves because it's so self-gratifying. But if you are a true creative, you are addressing, it's a service again. You are addressing a need in the market. It's so interesting when you talk about commerce. I mean, my greatest inspiration has come from two different levels and brackets of women. I mean, look at both my bosses. Look at Mrs. Ambani and look at Isha. When you work for Reliance, yes, you will get funded. Yes, your foundation is strong. But when you work for Reliance, you also have to show them the money. And you also have to turn this into a commercial success. That's very, very clearly explained to you right from the beginning. So it's that balance that you have to write there. However, when I see both of them and how they manage to work the whole creative and commercial aspect, it's hugely inspiring. What's equally inspiring are the 20 and 30 somethings on my team who are all on this money control app, who are tracking stocks, who are tracking. And the other day I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, even if we have 10,000 rupees, we save it. And I was like, I should be so ashamed. I should be so ashamed. And here's a lot of girls who are talking words like equity debt, Motilal Oswal, money control, CML. And I'm like, Fendi, Prada, Gucci. And I'm like feeling really, really not very intelligent or evolved. So that has been my other inspiration. And the third is working with women who are commercial successes. I have a Payal. I have another friend who's just inherited a 500 crore company. And she said, Priya, the first thing I had to do was go online and do a BSc course on how to work the market. She's inherited a portfolio company that's worth that much. And she pounds it. And she's 45, I'm 50. We're all doing this at a certain age, but we're also very sure that this is such an important and integral aspect of what it means to be successful. Success doesn't work in isolation of just being creative. Gayatri, it's like you when you write stories or when you work with organizations and you moderate. At the end of the day, you are a content creator, you are a creative person, but you're also servicing the room. You're also working the room. You know what the room is coming there for. You're not going to ask questions that just matter to you. You're asking questions that's going to drive impact to the women who are in the room.
100%.
I've seen that in all your forums, you know?
So I think, I was just going to say, to follow up on that, when I first started working, immediately after college, I got my first paycheck, and obviously we were so excited. It was early days in New York City. Payal and I were in New York at the same time. And I remember that I went with my best friend at the time from work, and we went and opened a Charles Schwab account. And we said, okay, let's say your paycheck is like $1,500 every 2 weeks or whatever. I don't even remember the amount. We will take either $100 or $200 out of that paycheck, pretend we're not, but that's just not coming to us. And through that, I saved enough money to pay for graduate school at Columbia. And that was a very early learning lesson to me, to just pretend you don't have that, like to come back to the reference point of the young girls in your room who will put 10,000 rupees away. Even if you put 1,000 rupees away or 500 rupees away, and you let it build over time and you invest and it becomes compounding, which is what we referenced Aditi Kothari. That's exactly her point. You can eventually have yourself a little nest egg that is yours. So I totally identify with what
These girls have a nest orchard. I mean, they have gone out and they're buying homes, they're buying second homes, they're buying
we
cars.
Sex in the City generation where literally all my wealth is in my shoes and bags. And I'm like, I could buy a house with that. But I'm very proud, like you said, of the younger generation. I have a lot of complaints with Gen Z, but the positive of Gen Z is they're very sure, they're very independent, and especially the women. And this is another thing that I'm noticing. It's the women, the younger women who are actually more understanding their, what careers they want to be in. I know more girls who know what they want to do than the boys 100%. Who don't want to do.
And you know what, Jaya, you also touched upon something that we're called money-minded. I think I love how when a man is talking about money, it's almost sexy. You almost say, oh my God, he's so ambitious. But the minute a woman starts talking about the bottom line and top line and PNL and all of that, you're like, oh my God, she's such a money-minded person. But this is complete and utter
BS.
bullshit.
We are trying to break that. Actually, the whole point of WLC is to try to explain that if a woman walks into a room and she's got ambition, she's not a bitch. She's ambitious just like every other guy. But unfortunately, that's the thing that we're trying to break.
But Jaya, as a coach and as the amazing work that you guys do at the Circle, isn't success such a individualized, customized concept? I mean, even ambition, the word ambition, right? There is no one size fits all. Your idea of ambition is so different from mine to Payal's to yours. And I feel like we get trapped. We get trapped by industry standards of success, industry standards of wealth, industry standards of happiness.
Absolutely.
We are prescribed that happiness is this, success is this, wealth is this. It's none of it. It is customized. It's what works for you, right? What do you think?
Yeah, so, I started as a private banker managing wealth, but at
Show off.
but I remember in those days, even when I was managing wealth, as soon as I got married to my husband, I was very happy to let him he was a hedge fund manager, take charge of all the money. I think it's taken me 20 years to remove shame around the word money, to call myself ambitious, and even to say that if I ask and negotiate money, there's no shame attached to it. I find that when women push back on money, and I've seen this in my family when I'm pushing back on boundaries on what will be my part of the wealth or what will be my part of any allocation, the word which is without being said is literally used as gold digger.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
Yeah? And somehow when men talk about it, as you rightly said, it's supposed to be very sexy, it's supposed to be very smart.
And that they're entitled to it.
Yeah.
It's entitlement,
And,
right?
and to that, I want to ask, we all are now close to hitting in our 50s without revealing any ages. We're all now getting comfortable about wealth creation and thinking of creating portfolios. And part of WLC is to help women scale up, and also thinking of creating rich wealth portfolios. So, and for me, this question is to all of you in the room, that when you're thinking of wealth creation, what still holds you back? And what are the tools you have in your kitty already now that you're comfortable saying, I want to create wealth, I want to be an equity holder to this company, I want to have stock options, I want to have ESOPs. Where are you at that in your journey right now?
Fairly new days. I have to say, I would be lying if I said I wasn't ignorant, but I'm hungry, I'm curious, and I'm interested. And I want to learn. And this is something that I want for myself in this decade of my life for sure. I've fortunately always been financially comfortable. So it was never, everybody has their own journey with money. I never had to reach out to it because I wasn't comfortable. I was just daunted. I just, like Payal said, paperwork, numbers, that part of my brain doesn't just understand it, right? So I comfortably kept it at bay. What I'm doing now is I've got 2 wealth managers that I'm working with, and they are literally hand-holding me. I didn't know what that CML meant, some client master list.
Yes.
I didn't even know basics like that. But I'm actually now sitting once a week with someone and trying to understand. I ask them the most rudimentary questions. Earlier, a part of my salary would straight go into an SIP, and I was okay with that. I'm now moving some of it into equity. I am trying to understand the market. I'm trying to read the market. Am I confident? Not at all, but I am interested. I think everything changes when you change your thought process towards something that is out of your comfort zone. And the first and preliminary thing is interest. If you're interested, you will dive in, you will screw up, you will make mistakes, you will lose some money, you will make some, but you're interested, and that's the path you've chosen on.
But Priya,
sorry.
sorry, I was going to say that your turning point was when you pivoted and
Yes.
switched careers. Payal, for you, did you have a turning point also? You speak about now about, looking at your numbers and your data and all that. When did that turning point come for you?
So, I started my career when I was very young. And I think, just like Priya said, there was no need to earn money in terms of I was not trying to support anybody or whatever. I was, I was a girl. So money was not the driving force to start my business. It was passion and creativity. But then after a few years, when it became like a serious business and suddenly everyone in the family was joining the business, and now I felt like, okay, there's a lot of pressure to perform. Automatically, I think it was very organic for me that the interest in money. And like I said, I had an entrepreneurial streak. So the interest of, and because this shame of the word money was there for so many years, I avoided saying those words like I'm money minded or I'm interested in the money or I'm ambitious. But today I understand that these are actually great values to have, to be interested in my money, to be interested in the success of my business. I'm learning. And for me, the main pivot happened, I think, when I came back from America. And I was a new mom. I had responsibilities also. My husband was navigating a new job, moving countries. And this became the core business in the family because everyone was kind of joining the business. And we had to make it something which would, be successful. Even now, I would say that, as Priya earlier said, that, ambition is very relative. I'm not sure I'm so necessarily interested or invested in being invested company or something that grows, to, 1,000 crores, or maybe it's not my ambition today. Maybe because I'm still kind of wary and afraid of what will be the future, because I haven't seen it, I haven't understood, I've been the master of my own destiny, creativity, numbers, but I am not close to it today. That's a big jump, because from someone who's run her own little, what we call mom and pop shop, to take it to a mid-sized business, and now I'm learning about scaling up, and I take it to the next 100 crores, but I am not afraid today. And I think that for me is the real pivot,
You made that leap.
Yeah, in my mind. It's a
Right.
mindset leap, right? So that happened. That needs to happen first. Money will come. I'm not
Can I
worried.
tell you where else this is prevalent is when your team when you do appraisals. Nowhere is this more evident than when a man comes at the time of an appraisal and a woman comes at the time of an appraisal, or when you're moving jobs. I can't tell you how many women will be like, oh, I'm really not comfortable having this money question.
Yeah, how much should I
They'll
pay?
email it to you secretly
Yeah.
and say, I'm expecting this much jump, but they won't say
it out
it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, whatever you think is okay.
yeah.
But it's not okay, because what I'm saying, if it's not great for you, you're coming back and telling me, no, actually I want a 40% or a 30%, but you're not being able to articulate it. We are hesitant from that point. And really, like she said, I may not want 1,000 crore company. I may want 1,000 crore company. Right now, my money ambitions are also changing. My financial ambitions are also changing. They're not the same. But I have to be unafraid, and I have to be interested, and I have to be clear that this isn't a bad thing. It's a big part of my journey as a working person, as a professional.
So we've been talking, in WLC a lot about scaling up. There's a big focus on scaling up. That's the purpose and the impact we want to have, that we take women to go from 1 to 10, 10 to 100. And personally, it's been 1.5 years of WLC, and we thought that we'd be organic, and you both know the pitch. But in the last 1 year, we pivoted and we started the podcast, and there are so many different pivots coming our way. And I realized that I think we can't be organic. And I recently met a male founder, a male entrepreneur who's a unicorn, and he said, just raise a safe round, otherwise you'll be very slow in your growth. And I, of course, went into a hole, got very scared. And of course, my family being very safe and organic, saying, no need to, just go slow. Why you want to do so fast? Investors will ask something. Will you be wanting to give your equity? And that's the thing I was noticing in this. We had this fundamental of finance workshop. They were talking about venture capital debt, venture capital equity, private equity, all kind of fundraising. But the question was not about what kind of fundraising to raise. Why should I raise money? Why should I grow so fast? I want to take very slow approach. And I know in my private conversations, Payal, that whenever I've spoken to you about scaling up, there is something that's always like a barrier, unknown barrier that holds you back. I know today you've spoken about, I'm okay to do it. But there is always this invisible fear that who I'm going to get as a business partner, the investor, should I get a strategic investor? And those questions actually come later. There is a fear to get somebody in. And I want to know more about that from you, because I'm handling that on my own fear.
So, so one thing is, I think my fear comes from my family background, of my family business. My father had a garment business, which he started at a very, very young age. He was 19 or 20 years old. He didn't have any insurance, because like how we are all learning, like he was a college dropout because he wanted to start a business, and he had a fire, and he was 30 when he had his first fire. We were in Sunmill compound in Lower Parel, and he finally he had no insurance, so he had to rebuild it completely on his own. And then 2 years later, the entire factory burned down all over again. And we had that insurance then to pay off. So that for me, it's a personal story. For me, it was, so I'm saying, I don't think the fear is the same in everybody for this reason. But for me, taking any kind of debt or taking any kind of money from the market has been like a complete no-no, because I know what we had to go through to kind of deal with that, debt which was not in our control, and we had a fire to battle, that debt. Having said that, it's taken me years of unlearning, this kind of a fear that I had kind of adapted as my reality or my value system, that no, this is not the way to think. My dad my own dad tells me that I don't know anyone who, I don't even have an overdraft facility. I have not allowed my bank to give, we have put a stop on it because that's how afraid we are of taking outside money. But having said that, you know, I have my husband and my brother who are in the business, and they are both MBAs. I am not. And they come in and they tell me that, you know, there's only one way, like at the end of the day, to scale up, as we understand now. You can do it with your money, and I have done it with our own money for 25 years. And that is why we are where we are as a mid-sized business. But if the dream and the ambition is to grow, I will have to take that money, not because there is a shortage of money, but you just have to do it with equity money, or you have to do it with venture debt. That's what I mean. I'm learning these terms myself. So I am breaking that pattern, but I'm going to be very honest. In one of the podcasts with WLC, Shivani said that women will always say that your money is safe with me or not safe with me, and will be like, I'll do this with your money, I'll do that. It's also a woman thing, that we are very, I will not take anybody's money unless I'm 100% sure I'm not going to make it 100x, forget 10x. That has to be my confidence before I take it. So I think it's very much like I said, I have something basis of something that happened for which is why I'm afraid, but I also want to give value back to the person who gives it. And of course, the third thing, which is a universal fear that everyone has, is that as creative director, I'm going to be tied in 5 to 10 years into the business. We have other members in our WLC who have sold businesses who are tied in. So, you know, that responsibility is also there, which is something I have to think about as my journey, my ambition. I'm 47 now. Do I want to be tied in till I'm 60? You know, these are questions I'm answering. But I think to answer you, the reason women have this doubt is for these reasons. Because we still have a home to run, we still have our kids to look after. And do you want to be reporting to somebody else, answerable for the numbers? Because right now I don't have to do that. It's fine. So is scaling up and the ambition to take the brand national, global, and make it a lifestyle brand, which is my dream, more important, or sacrificing something at the cost of sacrificing something, or is my freedom more important? So
I was going, you know, this thing, word sacrifice. Yeah. We keep throwing it about as women. Men never use that word. And why do we think that it's always going to be a trade-off? You know, men run successful, thriving businesses. They are not, you know, as to Jaya's point, you know, they'll go out and say, you know, you have to take the money and then go and do whatever you want with it or whatever. Why do we always think in terms of those trade-offs? Why can't it be a compliment?
Yeah.
I think there's a simple reason. It is because we are also birth givers. It's also because we have this additional facet to our gender that thankfully men don't have, which is that we bear kids. And whether you like it or you don't like it, whether you have a kid yourself or you don't, that is a gender stereotype you will never be able to shake. Right now, when Payal spoke about her not wanting to be reckless with someone's money, do you even realize that when a man talks about money, there is a recklessness. When a woman talks about money, whether she has a child or doesn't have a child, she almost has a maternal instinct towards money.
yes.
Beautiful.
It's like we want to be responsible. We feel responsible. Our gender feels responsible. We feel responsible for other people's well-being. We feel responsible for other people's money. We feel responsible for driving impact. Whether you have a child back at home or not, that's
How we're wired.
the way we are wired. And I would say, why do you want to fight that? Use that as your superpower. Why are women who are leading so successful? Why are women who are leading doing a better job at it? And this is not about man versus woman. It's just that EQ is the new IQ. I've said this before.
Absolutely.
The only counter I would make to that, Priya, is that it does tend to hold us back.
It does if we let it.
Yeah.
It also does because we are way harder on ourselves than a man is.
Absolutely.
You take a man and a woman, all things being equal, a man will go about his career and his decisions when you talk about reckless, it's also not very linear. For us, everything needs to be almost planned. Everything needs to be fixed. Everything needs to be safe. Everything needs to be, we don't allow ourselves to screw up. We are harder on ourselves when we screw up than a man is when he screws up.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely, yeah.
Totally.
And that's such a woman thing.
yeah.
I think first and foremost, step one, stop comparing yourself to the next woman CEO. Stop comparing yourself to, I want to be a Payal Singhal, I want to be a Gayatri, I want to be a Jaya. No, I want to be the best version of me.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be an imitation of anybody else because you don't know their life path and their life cycle. This is one thing that I really feel strongly about. I can't tell you how many interns go through me, and I can't tell you how many girls call me and say, I want career advice. I'm like, the first advice I will give you is try to figure out the one thing that makes you jump out of your bed every day of your life. Because if you love what you do, everything else is secondary. That's one. And second is you've got to wake up liking the person you are. 90% of our problems come from comparisons, industry standards, the burden we place on ourselves as women to be somewhere. Oh, growing up, I want to be Oprah. I want to be Indira Nooyi. I want to be Michelle Obama. I want to be Mother Teresa. Like, really? There is a gap between where you are and where that person is. Why can't you be your own Mother Teresa? Be your own Michelle Obama.
So this is a very good segue into the next topic, which is your industry, tangentially yours and of course yours, fashion.
Oh my God.
Fashion is wearable art, is what Payal started out by saying. You, of course, ran one of the most influential fashion magazines in the world. And there are beauty standards, industry standards that the fashion industry perpetuates, that media, luxury media has perpetuated. And, puts, I would say, a lot of burden, especially on women. Not so much the men. They might have a little bit of it now, but principally women.
Yeah.
You fired me up so much with this question, Gayatri. Actually, I'm going to speak on behalf of Payal and me because I think one of the things that we both share in common, and I'm saying this, is the inability to be comfortable in our own skin. When I interviewed for my last job, and I think there were about 100 odd candidates, and when I got the job, I was told I was the youngest editor in the world at that time.
That's right.
I wasn't a size 0. I wasn't close to it. And I told them that if you're hiring me because you want me to fit a stereotype of the number of people who've watched one stupid movie and think that's what publishing is about, then you've got the wrong girl. But if you've hired me because you think I can bring and drive impact, I can make this the best version of what it is meant to be, I can bring the best of the world to India and the best of India to the world, I can tell my story in the most honest and real way possible, then I'm your girl. I didn't let that weigh me down. And I can't tell you, and you can only understand, Gayatri, what the industry standards are, how far women go,
Absolutely.
the damage we do to ourselves,
Absolutely.
and the additional pressure we put on ourselves, right? I didn't succumb to it. And I think that could be one of my superpowers, that I never succumbed to it then and I won't do it now.
Priya, how did you not succumb to it? It is bombarding us non-stop.
I'm going to answer this for Priya.
Yeah.
So Priya and me have a secret joke that in our heads we're Giselle, okay? And it's when I to tell you when
I'm
you were
Giselle,
saying,
she's Naomi. Let's be clear about that, guys.
So the thing is that when Priya was saying that the little girls grew up thinking I want to be Oprah, I want to be Michelle, I want to be so and so, I honestly grew up thinking I want to be Payal Singhal.
Yeah.
And that's why I am
lovely.
where I am today. My clothes don't look like anyone else's clothes. My business doesn't look like anyone else's business. People are like, why do you do so many collabs? Aren't you? I do what I feel like doing because I have that confidence, and Priya has the same. So I think, and in a very superficial world of fashion, I think we managed to keep it real.
Absolutely.
And it's honestly the
It's
truth.
not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy at all.
It also comes from being confident of your craft. It also comes from
Yeah.
knowing what you do. I don't waver. The one thing I'm very confident about is my work. I've done my more than 1,000 hours. I have done that. I've read the books. I've worn the t-shirts. I've done all of that. So you can fight me on a whole bunch of things. You can't fight me on what I know about my work, right? And for me, that's enough. Everything else is my personal life.
And my choice.
And my choice,
Yeah,
right?
like if I want to color my hair, I will. If I want to get a nose job, I will. But I don't feel the pressure to succumb to it because someone else is doing it. But that takes great inner confidence. I have
That's
to
why
tell
all
you
of
that.
us
It
have
does.
your
Yeah.
cheekbones, you know that. Please put that into the podcast.
Yeah. You know, And for me personally, confidence has been a journey. It's
Really?
no, I'm just telling you that, I came from an army background, living in a tier 2, tier 3 town.
Wow.
And my mother was very simple. So she wasn't not trying to not make me confident, but she was naive, typical naive, that generation parents. And finding my own self for the last 20 years, and especially I think once I quit the banking industry, became a leadership coach, started coaching others and started creating impact, is when I started seeing women and the mirror of women around me. I think every time she's saying something negative about herself, I tell her, no, don't say this about yourself. Be positive, is what has made me feel confident.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's a journey. And I would like to know from all of you, in fact, Gayatri, starting from you, that I'm sure none of us born in 1970s were born confident people. We had to work at it. It was a muscle. It was a muscle we had to grow. And we were not set up. Our parents didn't know better. Education was
100%.
So what, for you, what made you happy?
Priya has been teasing me all morning, and I have to say that when I was, so when you're growing up, you have like, obviously everything is out of whack, features are this thing and all that. I remember, I'll never forget, I was returning something to one of my friend's older brothers in school in Delhi, where I was at the time. And as soon as I gave it back to him, all the boys, and I was walking away, I could hear the boys say, oh, that's the girl with the big lips. Because I had these huge lips, and then I had the small face. So obviously it was like this thing. And it really, to this day, it stayed with me. And the guy who said it is actually really one of my good friends now, and is a really talented set designer in India, but that's a separate point. And it took me a very long time. I think one of the pivotal moments for when I started to come into my own, because I used to really be very diffident, did not have confidence, certainly did not like the way I looked ever, is when I went to a women's college. I went to an all-women's college. Wow. And I went in the United States, and it really began to change the way I started thinking about myself as a person. And these women who are my friends to this day, 30 years ago is when I went to college, so that dates me, really helped to instill that a sense of confidence. But to this day, whether I'm doing this or whether I'm moderating a panel discussion in a 100-person room or whatever, I still have that sense of, oh my God, that's butterfly in the, in the stomach, and feeling like, oh my God, do I really have this and all that? And that, I think, it's like you said, it's a muscle. Maybe the more you do it, the better you get at it. Yes. But it is always, I think that confidence, it's not, it's amazing that you were born with that in this thing, but for me, it's really taken a very long time.
I was just going to say that it's so funny because it comes and goes. So I was born with it. I was almost tomboyish and very confident. And then as a young adult, I was a lot of people were interested in me. So that confidence, kind of boosted, right? And then I got success very easy at a very young age. So that was another jump. Like it was like, okay, everything is just going well. And like a lot of girls struggle to find love and whatever, that came easy. So I had a lot of kind of
early wins.
So for me, the confidence, there was no reason for me to cut to me moving back to India. And that was like a big slap in my face, right? I had to rebuild the brand because it was kind of forgotten here. It was building in the West, and in New York especially, but suddenly here it was like kind of like, is she alive? Is she dead? Is she old? Is she young? No one had a face to put to. I was very media shy in those days. I had a lot of naysayers who had come in trying to tell me how to do my business, how to design. I had, I lost some friendships at that point of time because, there had been a distance. And I had to relearn something, which I never, I was a confident child. But now I was suddenly, I had social anxiety. I was afraid to go out. I was afraid to talk about my work. It was... obviously, with moves, these things happen. I just postpartum, I just had a baby, so postpartum depression and stuff. So everything came together, and I had to rebuild that confidence. Today, somebody asked me recently, have you ever been to a movie alone or had a meal alone? I said, I have one time. It's not something by choice. I think it was us, right?
Yeah.
I was like, it's not out of choice, but I have done it because that's what I would like to overcome. And now I can tell you, from going from social anxiety 15 years back when I moved back to be able to walk into a party completely alone is a big step for me. So I think confidence, like I said, for me it came and it went.
Ebbs and flows.
Yeah, it does. And it can happen even in later years in your life, So
I was brutally shy as a teenager. And as a child, I was so shy that when guests would come home, I would hide below a sofa. And then I chose a career like journalism.
Right.
And at my first job, I was put on the crime beat. And I was also put on the party beat. So I would see dead bodies by day and dancing bodies by night. And I messed up so much. I remember my first 3 assignments were just straight thrown into the dustbin, and by my then editor, who said, are you writing an essay for school? Is this your ICSE paper? Because it's really bad. I knew nothing about journalism. I said, I won't take money. Again, a bad decision, not to be done at any stage in your life. Yes. I said, but train me. And he did. Like Payal said, the only thing that worked for me was I fell into something I loved. Not minding my own business, wanting to know more about the lives of others. That curiosity, I started loving it and lapping it up. And the more I did, the more I loved. And that sort of helped me get out. And when people are like, oh, you're so confident, you can walk a room, but I can't.
Right.
There are always hiccups that we battle. We're just better at hiding it than everybody else is.
Right.
And I think that's the other thing as women, right? My whole life, my entire career has been built on the incredible women I work with.
Beautiful, yeah, sister.
I have had beautiful teams. I'm a girl's girl. I know there are men's women and there are women's women, and I'm a woman's woman. And I am I am the living example of the magic that happens when women come together.
Yeah.
I embody that. I stand for it. I believe that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be where I am, I wouldn't be who I am without the most incredible women in my team or the women in my life, my friends, just the people I surround myself with. And I feel we always see the dynamic of women versus women. We need to now start seeing the dynamic of women and women.
Yes. In fact, I think the last year, with all that was happening in my personal life, I think I wouldn't have survived had I not met these beautiful girls. I think the founding member team of WLC, and we've been so lucky. Each one comes from such a diverse industry. And I think I totally agree. If women become allies and supporters, what we can build together is absolutely of a different level. And I think I can already see today we are in this room because of strangers I met who I feel today I'm very close to in a very short period of time, because we're building something together, we're creating something together. Right. We're not shopping something, we're actually working for purpose and impact together.
And it's great that you're having these dialogues, right? All these dialogues are not easy. It's not easy to sit and prescribe to women that, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. I don't think what defines any of us is that we're successful in what we do. Yes, we are. But I also think that we're very honest and real in what we say. Yeah. You've got to go out there and be able to tell the women that, yes, it's not easy. You'll have mom guilt, body guilt, life guilt, Netflix guilt, book guilt. You can't read the books you want to. You don't have time to watch the shows you want to. You will
can't do Shakespeare classes.
You can't do Shakespeare classes. You can't meet the friends you want to grab a coffee with. You will have guilt. You will screw up. You will have messes. But as women, you tell each other that you will rise, right? I just feel like being able to have honest conversations with other women keeps this narrative so dynamic and alive.
Priya, you spoke about being honest, but let's face it, we live in a world of social media. And I would say disinformation and complete lack of honesty, because what people are showing on their social media handles may be very far removed from the honesty of their lives. So how do you reconcile that? Social media, and I would actually open this up to all of you. Social media is also such a fundamental part of building a brand these days. Yes. You spoke about, sharing stories and conveying a narrative. How do you balance the truth with what you want people to perceive of as the truth?
You know, we've thought so much about this, Gayatri. I think social media is just a necessary evil. And I use both those words very carefully. The internet is not a kind place. What we're doing is we're telling that everybody has an opinion, but you also have a platform where you can vent, and it's not kind. As we all know, it's not a kind place. But strangely, it is a necessary evil. It is where, especially if COVID taught us anything, there were businesses that were born out of the Instagram. There were businesses that only survived because of the marketing they did on social media. So yes, it's necessary. Yes, it's also how we consume information. Like I was just telling Payal, Matthew Blasey has been appointed the new creative director at Chanel, and I didn't need to pick up a newspaper or a magazine this morning to know that. I knew it literally maybe 5 minutes after he knew it. And I knew this on social media. So is it great for dissemination of information? Yes. Is it great for building your brand? Yes. Because A, it's visual. B, it's the most easily, readily available catalog of what you do and what you stand for. But like with any other medium, I think there need to be regulations. There needs to be certain responsibility. And I personally believe that the good stuff will remain and the not so good stuff will eventually just fall off the side cracks.
You know, I want to say something. You know, considering you have started with old school journalism and you're now in the digital age, you should know that what is the truth in written media, as we know. Here's what I'm going to say. As a there are two sides to this. One as a brand and one as a person. So I'm going to split those two. I think as a brand, it's very important. I think the consumer is too smart today and you cannot fib them. You cannot say you can put this cream and become fair. They are not going to buy it. They are going to ban that product. So I think honest storytelling for a brand is very important. It's a necessary evil. I said this in an earlier masterclass. You cannot not move with the time. If you don't have a landline anymore, are you going to still pretend that you're going to try to reach somebody on a landline? I mean, we're on the cell phone age and era. So you have to adapt social media. How, for your personal consumption, how you use it is something that you have to self-monitor. Government can lay out rules. There is, Meta is coming in and putting in filters to make sure that there's no, derogatory content. But then they're also using it to their advantage to kind of skew what you see and what you don't see. These are all the things that are going to happen. How you stay sane in that world when you understand that what you watch on social media with 1,600 girls with their legs in one direction, taking a picture for the camera, everyone's pitching about everybody, you can calm yourself down versus feeling like, oh my God, why am I not in that picture?
I agree that there is this whole personal aspect and we know the damage that does. We all know the optics of and this phenomenon that's called everybody else is having fun but me.
Yeah.
When you see what people are putting up and you feel like everybody else's life seems far more adequate, far more richer, more colorful, with more holidays. Nobody's talking about their servant problems or their hip issue or their, the day when they have a zit on their butt kind of a thing. Yeah. And that's fine. I think it's a powerful tool for your business. I think for me personally, because we launch creative IPs, it becomes a great form of market research. I don't need to go out there and do the qualitatives and quantitatives anymore. This is great research. I'm getting instant feedback.
When you're in control of your own narrative.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in the past, I'm sorry to say I'm talking to two journalists, but I had to rely on you to tell my story if I wanted to. I had to please the Vogue team or any magazine or publication to get a write-up. But today I can tell my brand story on my own. I'm in control of my own narrative.
You're your own PR. But do you also, what about the role of influencers then? Because they have sort of superseded the fashion editor.
Both of you were part of print journalism. So my question is, print journalism dead? And how do you feel about that? You've been a written journalist, you like writing. I know you had this inhibition.
I mean, look, I struggle with this all the time, and I'm sure Priya does too. I think that certain forms of print journalism are no longer valid and pressing. But do I think print journalism is dead? No, I do not, because I think in answer to what Payal was saying about the algorithm, I think that we must all be very mindful and vigilant, which we are not, about the fact that what we are consuming on the phone through the, is being driven by, and on social media is being driven by an algorithm. So if you click on that one story, news story that you were reading, you'll then go down the silo of that same point of view. And so I think that there is some legacy media that actually continues to be relevant. There is excellent long-form journalism that is going on today. In pockets of India as well as around the world, which I think those who are mindful and want to hear the other side, are sort of consuming. And I think that will continue to be. The problem is that we now live in a new normal, a new reality where what Priya is consuming is not what Jaya is consuming, what Payal is consuming, what Gayatri is consuming. And as a result, when that one movie came out and everybody saw it, or that one TV show came out and everybody saw it, or that one article came out and everybody read it, that's all gone. Because you're reading something different or seeing something, and for all of us, that's where we don't have a shared reality anymore. Which is why I think in some cases, print media would be
Kind of
lovely,
unites you.
unites you. And unfortunately, yes, you're right, it's completely fractured and in a lot of duress. And of course, we've got all sorts of other issues like, large corporates owning legacy media in this country and around the world. So only one story gets out. I would like to continue to think my glass may not be half full, but is at least a quarter full when it comes to that. But I also realize that I'm of a particular generation that will go out and source those news sources, which I don't think people are doing anymore.
We launched a digital publication this year called The Nod. And I kept asking myself, are we ready for yet another publication? So I remember at Vogue, I launched the digital presence of Vogue. And what a struggle it was to get that going off the ground, because back then we were just the vanilla version of the magazine. Then we realized, no, it needs to have its own identity. But like Gayatri, I am a believer at heart, as an idealist, that good words will always matter. People will go where good words are. You will, if you're at the airport and you see a New Yorker with a great piece, you will pick it up. If you see a 200-word piece on The Nod, you will read it. It needs to resonate with you. And like she said, there is no one size fits all anymore.
I just wanted to go back to the influencer. I wanted to know how important the influence, because you talked about the fashion editor no longer, having to tell your story.
Yes.
Tell us about that influencer market and how it affects fashion brands, and do you have to run after them? How does that work?
So when the whole influencer marketing and the whole social media boom happened, and then first they were called bloggers, now they are rightfully called content creators because no one's blogging. It was,
And nobody should be called an influencer.
yeah.
That word, if there was like brain rot is the word of 2024, the word that needs to be RIP is influencer.
Yeah,
Deleted.
I recognize them for what they are, content creators. As a brand that has to roll out content every day on my page, what do we rely on? We're a visual brand. We rely on photographs, videos, so whether I have a model or I have someone who has got a following who's creating that content, I'm okay with it. We had real women's posts do better, and I've said this in so many interviews. We have real women, real brides posts do better than content creators and top actresses. And what does that say to you? It says that, again, the consumer is king. The consumer knows what he or she likes. So I'll be very honest, I do work with a large community of content creators, not just in India, actually all over the world. And I love them, and we're great with each other. We're brand loyalists. I love them, they love me. But to me, I know what place they have in my brand. It is storytelling. And I don't use them as influencers because, like I said, I feel an authentic story, whether you see a lot of designers who use completely unknown faces from different, backgrounds, put their clothes on them, and those pictures are going viral. Or where you say Jacquemus doing something unique and different. I think it's the storytelling, which comes back to old school media, old school storytelling. That's not going to go away. You can change the platform. So I think they're great. I don't know if they have so much influence, if you ask me, whether you're macro, micro, housewife influence, doesn't matter. I think it's the content which is eventually king. That's my observation.
So, today one thing is really standing out. Two things, authenticity and storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just shift from there. We have this thing called being liked and likability and a strong woman paradox. And, we have to be two things at the same time. Be assertive, yet empathetic. And be liked, but okay to be a badass boss woman. How do you navigate some of this, and still stay authentic in the center, because life is in the middle, right? And that's the hardest thing. And both of you run businesses where you have to manage large teams. and I'm sure a lot of BS comes your way. And you have to be really sometimes very comfortable being disliked.
Can I say something? And it's going to sound a bit woo-woo, but I think this is where age, experience, and doing a certain amount of inside work both comes in, right? And I think I was very different when I was in my 20s. I was a very different boss when I was in my 30s. I'm a very different person in my 50s. Was I always a dream to work with? I would definitely think not. But am I more honest about it today? Yes. I think that honesty is so important. When I said that EQ is the new IQ, it's not just about understanding that you have women in your team and they'll need to take a mat leave. It's also about saying that if I get angry and I know I've been wrong, I have to have the EQ to go up to my colleague, even if she's the junior most person on my team, and say, buddy, I'm so sorry. That was completely out of line.
Yeah.
So it's about, and that level of evolution comes with when you deep dive. And can I tell you, it doesn't happen when you're 20. It doesn't happen. At least it didn't for me. Gosh, I was a train wreck when I was 20. When I was 30, I was still evolving, very, very into my work. I think today, and when you're a leader,
Absolutely.
and as a person who leads business, who's doing leadership coaching rather, you know this more than me, that I have worked so much on myself to be the best version of myself, that's when I can give that to the others. So yeah, I think for me that's been the case.
You know what you said, I keep saying this, and when I say this to men, they find it like, how can that be? I said, self-awareness is the hidden strength of leadership.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think half the work is to be aware. When so in therapy, for example, and I don't hide the fact that I go to therapy because I want to encourage it as a conversation in households, because especially normalize it in Indian households, because I don't know why there's such a taboo. But I want to say something, that I have actually started to get very comfortable being disliked. I think it's my new like button. Become like, oh, you dislike me? I'm doing something right. Because, honestly speaking, some of my girls are right here, so they can answer. I'm a very hard taskmaster. I'm very loving and very kind also. So if they don't understand the difference, I'm okay. You know what I mean? I'm doing my best. I've had a journey too. I've gone through my own anxiety. I'm now going through menopause. And I think these things have to be factored in. I'm self-aware and I'm willing to apologize and I'm willing to make good. And I'm willing to reflect and say that, hey, I could have done that better the next time. So I think once you, like I said, age, experience, self-work, and there are 50-year-old women who have not done the work. So let me not say it's not only age. The work is important. I think leading a team, and I would like you all also to answer this actually, because leading a team is not easy and you have to get very comfortable with not being liked. Because by the way, guess what? Even people pleasers are not liked by everyone. They're called, oh, she's a people pleaser.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Can I just draw one parallel? A good leader, the truth behind being a leader is like being a parent. Kids look up to you, your team looks up to you. Everybody thinks that you always get it right and you always have the right answers. But you fail. And you can't be afraid to fail. You have to own up. A great leader is not one who doesn't fail. A great leader is one who fails, learns, gets up and tells the others, so will you. But we will do this together. I think there's such a pivot in what a new age leader is all about, right? Yeah. There is no distance anymore. Like my entire team, it's a very horizontal team. We don't have cabins. We don't sit and have hierarchies. Everybody is at an equal playing ground, and I call them all investors. I'm like, we're all equally invested in this.
Absolutely.
If I grow, you will grow with me.
I think the important thing also to recognize, in addition to what both of you have said, is that when you're in the pursuit of excellence, you are not always going to be liked.
Yeah.
But if you want to get, the best product out there, or the best, whatever it is you're in pursuit of, the best outcome, the best sentence, the best copy, the best, outfit, whatever it is, you are going to be in that space where people are going to be like, oh, because you're asking people to give 100% or more. where, most people may be like, oh, I can get away with 50 or 60%. And this is what you and I keep talking about also, Jaya. I'm like, no, pursuit of excellence. We know in this country, sadly, a lot of times we're okay with mediocrity. And that's not okay, because we are not. We are not a culture of mediocrity. We are an incredible culture of art and craft and music and dance and everything else. And of course, minds, intelligence. So why would we be okay with just this, middling along? And I think that's where likability, in a way, as Priya said, you get to a point in a phase in your life, you're like, no, I'll go and apologize if I was, rude, or maybe I got like very heated in that moment. And you can own that. But at the same time, you're pushing that person to give the best output. So,
But that's also if you are wrong and if you have done something wrong. I'm talking about people who are lovely and please people and are always there. They are also not liked. So I'm trying to say, what are we pursuing? What is this pursuit of being liked? That anyways is not a guarantee. My point is, you might as well go for your dream. You might as well live by your value system. I have very high standards of friendship, and all my friends know that. And that's okay, because some people drop off the bandwagon because of that. But for me, that is what I give to a relationship, and that is what I expect. So you don't like me for that, that's fine. I'm not a chalta hai person. You know what I mean? I am not Indian only, I think, because that is what Indians are. So you're absolutely right. Why are we settling with a 30, 40, 50? I'll settle for 95%. That's all I'll settle for.
As you were discussing about this likability, and I think in the last 1 year, while leading a peer-led organization, I think I've gotten so comfortable not being liked, and I keep telling everybody that I'd rather be respected. And whenever somebody comes to me that, how do I manage when I work with stakeholders who are senior than me, I said, work on this, get respected. Get respected for excellence, for what you bring on the table, but like out there. As women, we feel really pressure to be liked and loved a lot, and it's part of our genetic DNA.
Yeah, but respect is not commanded, it's earned also.
Absolutely. Well said it.
Right?
And that's how you show up, right? The kind of work you do, the kind of commitment you show. Just because you are your name or 20 years of work experience, or you're somebody's wife, you cannot earn the respect. You have to show up.
You lead by example.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you. With that, I would like to conclude with our rapid fire. So,
I have a question for you. What do you use for your cheekbones? That's your rapid fire question. What do you do for your skin? Everybody, this is really important information. The nation wants to know.
Nation wants to know.
a whole lot of facial oils and daily face massages. And you know what, can I tell you? I have a really bad habit. My parents find it the bane of their existence. I chew a lot of gum. I have a chewing gum habit since I was a kid. I don't know if that helps or not.
Face yoga.
No, we need chewing gum.
Start right away.
Okay, rapid fire. Let's just go around this way. So, Payal, we'll start with you. A book, movie, or a piece of art that has inspired you?
So I was recently at the art fair in Mumbai, and I met this absolutely wonderful artist from Kerala called Tito Stanley. He now lives in Baroda. His work, I was just looking at it and just staring at it, and my grandfather was a painter, and he used to use these Hollandac paints, and Tito started talking to me about that. His style was Van Gogh meets Dali. And I mean, I was so intrigued, and he's used certain colors which are not available in the market because he's gone and got them from Hollandac, and the painting was layered. So you can understand Van Gogh style, but like if you see it in different lights, you see different colors and you actually see different layers. I haven't been inspired like this in a very, very long time. I look at a lot of architecture and a lot of Mughal art as usually my reference point, but it actually inspired me to start painting again. So yeah, that was my recent, brush with this.
So we will all look up Tito Stanley.
Please do, please do.
So for me, actually, Gayatri, it's been a show that I've watched and a podcast I've listened to recently that's really fired me. So on Netflix, there is this incredible series on the life of Ayrton Senna. And you have to watch it. As somebody who gets really inspired by the lives of others and journeys that others take, he was an F1 legend, but he was this God-fearing, country-loving, patriotic kid who overcame so much to get where he was. And tragically, his life was cut short, but what a show. I would highly recommend it. And the other thing that I listen to every single morning of my life is a podcast called The Mindset Mentor. It's by a gentleman called Rob Dial, and I can't recommend it enough. It's what I listen to on my ride to work every day. It's about 15 minutes, and he touches upon various different aspects of switching your mindset. So much of it is mind over matter. And I would say both these men have really, really fueled and fired me up.
So I recently started reading a book called The Comfort Crisis, and I think as we live in a world where everything is very comfortable, and I think I came to realize that in my 50s I have to push my body and my mind out of its comfort zone. So you have to genuinely choose places and do things to get out of your comfort zone. So about a year back I started doing ice showers, and I now this year I want to start doing the headstand. And also I think we were discussing fasting. So I think we live in a world where we have too many creature comforts, and our forefathers were not born to have so much comfort, and that comfort makes us complacent.
Yes.
So I think everybody should read the book called Comfort Crisis. It's beautiful about how you have to make yourself uncomfortable constantly to grow.
What about you guys?
Yeah, we are being asked you.
Yeah, so I also have a book and a podcast. The book is, to your point about not being comfortable, it's a book called We Will Not Be Saved by a woman activist from Ecuador. She's from the Amazon rainforest, and she got together an alliance of tribals from that area to help to save about 3 to 7 million acres of Amazon rainforest from big oil. And she was just this, just a tribal woman who grew up in the jungle and had no resources, and it's massively inspiring. Her name is Nimonte Nuquino, and she co-wrote the book with her husband, who happens to be an American. I would really encourage everybody to read this book because it just shows you the power of one.
Beautiful. So next question, I think you asked and you touched upon this, and I did not answer the question. So I'm giving the question back to you. What do you define as success?
I think success is highly, highly personalized, highly individualistic, and success can't exist in isolation of an end result. It's not the end of a journey. It's the journey. I think we mistake success with outcomes. We measure success, actually not even mistake, we measure success as outcomes. Oh, I have a 500 crore company. Oh, I have won 10 awards. Sure, those metrics are important tools to push you and propel you to do more and do better. Personally, for me, success is a verb. It's not a noun. For me, success is constantly doing, learning, moving, engaging, growing. The day I stagnate, I stop being successful. And I think a lot of women that I talk to have a prescription of success. There is no prescription. It's hugely personalized. Your idea of success could be being the best parent you want to be and sit at home and eat khandvi all day and do it, but be the best at it.
Be the best.
Be the best at what you want from your life. I think clarity, know your life,
Clarity is very
and then work towards it. If you want to build an NGO that finances women, then go out and do that and go deep into it. Whatever you choose to do, there is really no one size fits all. Know what you want to do, have that vision board, and then go out and do everything it's going to take you to get there. Keep upgrading, keep upskilling, keep learning, keep honing. And the second thing is, success is not in isolation. You have to factor in things like, what's your personal life? What's your support system? What's your financial appetite when you start your career? Are you somebody who works well when you work alone, or do you work well when you are working for a salary? These are some of the home truths you need to know about yourself. Misalignment happens when people who, like a person like me, can never really become an entrepreneur on my own. I will always need someone one level above me to give me direction. But I know that. I know my truth. So tomorrow if I want to go out there and start my own label, I know it's a recipe for disaster because I don't have that in me. But I know my truth. Your truth is tomorrow, you know you're not going to be a children's book author. Maybe you are, but I'm just giving an example. You need to know your reality. You need to know your reality, know your truth, learn your truth. And the minute you zero in on something that appeals to you, whether it is not working pro bono, working for money and saying, I will run a multi-million-dollar company, accept your truth and work towards it. For me, success is very, very personalized, very customized, and very linked to balancing your personal and professional. All our insecurities and agitations arise when we have this guilt, and that guilt won't go. You know, somebody who was a really big banker gave me great advice, and that stayed with me till today. She said, remember, as a mother, as a wife, as a career woman, you will have days when everything will compete for your attention. On some days, your work will be the hero and you do not feel the guilt about the others. On some day, it'll be a child with a fever that'll be your hero and you don't feel the guilt. Choose your heroes on a day-to-day basis. What's your priority? And I've stuck with that.
Beautiful. Well said.
Yeah. I think Priya has said it for all of us.
So, you know, for me, the definition of success has changed over the last few years. I'm going to be honest, I was totally guilty of wanting those materialistic benchmarks in my life. And I thought that was what success would feel like: the house, the magazine cover, the award, the travel, the whatever, the holiday home. But I think in the last few years, where I have really been going inward, my definition of success today is I want to live a joyful life. I want to live a peaceful life. I want to live a happy life. I want to live a full life. I want to travel. I want to help. I want to empower. I have purpose, and I'm a work in progress. But I think I'm on my way to success, and that's what success
I
is
love
to
that,
me.
that we're all work in progress.
Yeah.
We really are.
Absolutely.
I think it's not happening at this age also, right? In a way. So
I'll just be very succinct. I'm going to say happiness. That can be in whatever way, shape, or form that defines you. As Priya said, she, encapsulated it very well. Happiness.
Yeah, thanks. So for me, I think part of what Priya said, that it's not the outcome but the journey, and what she said, purpose. For me, this year really is about achieving self-mastery, and that to me is a form of success. If I'm able to master who I am as an individual and the impact that I'm having around me, that is for me success. That what am I doing for others and a larger, it's changed for me. I would have had the same, am I a CEO, am I earning some few $1 million? No, it's not that. What is the impact? Because at a certain age, what is the gap you're achieving if you're not impacted? And how are you challenging yourself every day? Yeah.
Okay, your go-to mantra when the going gets tough, Jaya.
Go to mantra and going gets tough. This too shall pass. And, nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
My husband says this, that when I'm sad, I sleep. When I'm happy, I sleep. When I'm hungry, I sleep. When I'm really excited, I sleep. I think for me, the
Sleeping.
truth is, it's
That means
sleep.
you're not really excited right now.
What do you think I'm going to do after this podcast is over? No, on a serious note, I literally think balance. For me, when the going gets tough, I keep reminding myself, it's gratitude. I have so much to be thankful for. Just as the good times don't last, nor do the bad, right? It's all transient. You are work in progress. Keep the end result in sight, that what you really want from your life is happiness, like you said. It's balance. It's not just one thing. It's no one thing. So leave that detachment sometimes. It's okay if you didn't get that deal. Maybe there wasn't a reason. Not to say don't have ambitions or give it all up and don't have an attachment to it. It's just that there is a larger picture in place. Always keep reminding yourself of the larger picture. Have the gratitude, have the plan. And this will pass. This will pass and something better will come your way.
I think for me, my go-to mantra is I believe in myself, and I'll figure it out. I have low days and I go down the rabbit hole, and I've now started to give myself timer, like max 24 hours.
I
And
love it.
I have myself, so I'll pull myself out of it.
That's
and I'm
great
back.
advice. That's great advice.
So
Getting a timer.
Getting timer. For you?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just the small, inconsequential, day-to-day stuff that always bogs us down. Just don't worry about it. Yeah. Someone said this to me a very long time ago, and it's always stuck with me.
But Gayatri, don't you also feel, guys, on a parting note, that we live in a crazy world. We're living in such uncertain times when every single day, whether it's geopolitical crises or the whole mental health conversation, so much is evolving, and not all of it is dynamic in the good sense of the word,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So when all this churn is happening, you've got to stay still.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right? And that
Absolutely.
stillness comes from the work you do on yourself. So you go back to what she spoke about, self-awareness. That's being the single most critical tool today for any person, woman, man, anyone, is that self-awareness.
Absolutely.
That'll help you stay still.
Nice.
On that note, thank you both so much for joining us, for giving us your time, and for lending us this wonderful space, your
Thank
stall.
you for having me.
And I think, Jaya, we've had a very riveting conversation today and touched upon many important and meaningful things, from wealth creation to believing in yourself to, social media and the impact, print media and whether it's still relevant. And of course, thinking about outside investment, whether to take it, pivoting in our careers, multiple topics. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure, and more power to the work you guys are doing. It's just fascinating. Like I said, it's a great sisterhood, and all the best for it.
Thank you for taking all the time, and I think we should definitely meet in a year or two when she has raised money and we don't know where your company is going to go, and
You and me both.
yes, and what that we create with this podcast in 1 or 2 years, we should definitely come back and do a recheck. And I think I've had more laughter in this session than any other.
Well, TGIF.
Thank you.
Thank you.